We're going to be working through this 5.4 quiz review, which is solving exponential and logarithmic equations. We'll go through each section. I'll talk through how you do each of the questions, and then we'll do each example. So you see here up at the top kind of the steps that we usually work through to solve ones like this. So first of all, you're going to write each side of the equation as an exponential. So it's like b to a power, so b to the y expression with the same base. We're going to use the rules of exponents to simplify. These two steps kind of go together, the first two. Then we're going to use the fact that if you have x to a power, or maybe 5 to a power, equals 5 to a power, those powers, those exponents have to be equal to each other. And then we're just going to solve an equation. So here we go with number 1. So we want to write each side of the equation as an exponential. So 216, we need to know, is 6 cubed. Now that's a higher number that we're probably not quite as familiar with, but 216 is 6 cubed. And so we replace 216 with 6 cubed, and we still have this negative 2v here, equals 6 squared. So the 6, that base we couldn't simplify at all. Now we're going to use our rules of exponents, so step 2. And we know that a power raised to a power you multiply, so this is 6 to the 3 times negative 2v, so it's negative 6v, equals 6 squared. And now we're down to step 3. And step 3, we know that since we have a 6 as the base on each side, the exponents must be equal to each other. So negative 6v has to equal 2. And then step 4, we go ahead and solve for the variable, and we would do that by dividing both sides by negative 6, which you could put in decimal form or just reduce. So we get that v equals negative 1/3. Moving on to number 2. So back to step 1 and how to do these, we want to write both of these as an exponential with the same base. So 625, again, that's a larger number, so you might have to play with it some. 5 goes into it, so you might just want to see what that is. So this is actually, 625 is 5 to the 4th. So 5 to the 4th, still to the 3x, equals, well, 125 is 5 cubed. And you might have just done this thing in one step. I'm going to do it in 2 steps. So this is on the right 1 over 5 cubed, but we learned, well, we'll work through this. On the left side, we have a power raised to a power, so we multiply. So this is 5 to the 12x equals, and when we have something in the denominator, we can write this as 5 to the negative 3. Still, we have to the 2 minus x. The left side stays the same. The right side, a power raised to a power we multiply. This needs to be distributed, so this is going to be 5 to the negative 6 plus 3x. And now that we have this written as the same base, we can just say that the exponents are equal to each other. So 12x equals negative 6 plus 3x. And so we will just solve for x. So step 4 here, solve for x, subtract 3x from both sides. And we get 9x equals negative 6. Dividing both sides by 9, we get x is equal to negative 2/3. So reduce negative 6/9, that reduces to negative 2/3. Number 3, we have 81 to the 2x equals 9 to the x. Now this actually could be done 2 different ways. Actually number 4 can as well, but we could take this all the way down to 3 to a power and 3 to a power. However, in this case, we know that 81 is just 9 squared. So we can write 81 is 9 squared. That's to the 2x equals 9 to the x. Using our rules of exponents, we have 9 to the 4x equals 9 to the x. And so we know that 4x has to equal x. And now we're just solving this. So remember, we get all the variables to one side. So we subtract x from both sides. And we get 3x equals 0. So x obviously equals 0. If you want to finish out the writing it in an algebra way, you divide both sides by 3. So x equals 0. And then our last one here, 64. 64 is tricky because that's 8 squared or 4 cubed. 16 can't be written as 8 to a power. So we have to go all the way down, and we have to use 4. So 64, we know that 64 is 4 cubed. And the way you can do that is you can just divide by 4. Also, you could write it as 2. We could work our way all the way down to 2 to a power. So 4 cubed to the 2b equals 4 squared. On the left side, we use our rules of exponents. So this is 4 to the 6b equals 4 squared. And since the bases are the same, we can say the exponents are equal to each other. So 6b has to equal 2. We divide both sides by 6. We get b equals 2/6, which reduces to 1/3. And so there's our answers